take an example of the mediating variable. We need to understand it very carefully because the students are confused with the mediating and moderating variable. The mediating variable that surfaces as a function of the diversity in the workforce is creating synergy. The mediating variable that surfaces as a function of the diversity in the workforce is creative synergy. This creative synergy results from a multi-ethnic, multiracial, multinational workforce interacting and bringing together their multifaceted expertise in the problem solving. What it is saying that this relationship between the workforce diversity and organization effectiveness is only possible when there is a creative synergy between them. You see, workforce diversity and organizational effectiveness is possible through the creative synergy. When we say effectiveness, it means there must be a synergy, there must be complementary efforts between them. One is helping other. When one is helping other in the diverse workforce, the organization will be effective. So here we say that this organizational effectiveness is possible because of the creative synergy. When there is no creative synergy, there is no organizational effectiveness. So what happens over here? Very interestingly, workforce diversity is the independent variable and the creative synergy is the dependent variable. Over here you see creative synergy is an independent variable and organizational effectiveness is a dependent variable. So at one moment one is a dependent variable, other moment it is a independent variable. So you see, that's how it goes. So creative synergy is the dependent variable with the workforce diversity. When there is a workforce diversity, then there is a creative synergy. When there is a creative synergy with the workforce diversity, there is a organization effectiveness. Got it? So what does it mean? It means the organization effectiveness is possible with the creative synergy and the creative synergy of the diverse workforce. So that is another example in which we talk about the managerial expertise. We already discussed. So managerial expertise basically improves the creative synergy. It increases the creative synergy. When there is a managerial expertise, there is more creative synergy. When there is more creative synergy, there is a better moderation. There is better mediation. This is a mediator and this is a moderator. Haris sir?
Yes, sir.
This is a mediator and this is a moderator. Haris sir, what is this? Moderator or mediator?
Mediator.
Shabash. What does it shows? What does it tell?
Relation between independent and dependent variables.
Shabash. The relationship is possible with the creative synergy. The relationship is possible with the creative synergy only. Now you see, we have more examples and they are depicting the mediating variable, intervening variable, hours of study and number of practice problems completed. Number of practice problems completed. When the number of practice problems completed, the exam score is much better than the direct score. Okay. There are many students who say, sir, we studied for 10 hours, but I had a very less number of marks. Why? Because they have not completed the practice questions. Since the practice question is very important to get the good marks, and if a student have only studied theory just to understand the concept but not practice, like in the RMS course, if you want to ace in the RMS course, especially in the final exam, so what you need to do, you need to complete the practice questions which are available at the end of the book, and after every topic there are questions. Another example is stress and the depression. So you see, when there is a rumination, then the depression comes. When there is no rumination, there is no depression. What is rumination? Rumination is basically when you regurgitate. Regurgitate means jugali. In Urdu we call jugali. That is when you keep hovering on the same concept, on the same problem most of the time. It's another example is when you keep this marker in your hands for a while. Are sir, tawajjuh chahiye.
Yes, sir.
When you keep this marker in your hand, what happens? No problem. It's very light. When you keep this marker for an hour, what happens?
Dard.
You will feel that it is very heavy. Actually, it is not. But having it for long makes it heavy. Holding it for long makes it heavy. So, what does it mean? Rumination makes any stressful person depress. So, rumination is there, then only depression will be there. When there is no rumination, there is no depression. Stress, everyone has a stress. We are not usually depressed. We are depressed when we keep on the same context and we feel the stress, we keep the stress for very long. So then only we feel the depression. We become depressed. Got it? So these are the examples of the mediating variable. And this is the exercise you can do. The motivation can be as an independent variable, can be mediating variable, can be the moderating variable. It can be among the three situations you can fit in. You see, motivation is mediator as well, moderator as well, and the independent variable. So one variable can have the multiple roles. Remember. That's I already discussed. What is the difference, main difference between the moderator and mediator? Because many students ask me what is the basic difference. The difference is the moderator are basically the qualitative variable, the age over 60 age. Do you remember the scenario in which we talked about the over 60 age? So you see age, race, social class, level of reward. These are the moderating variable. So basically that affect the direction and strength, both. That affect the direction and the strength, both. Between an independent and dependent variable, moderator must not be a causal result of the independent variable. Moderator variables specify when certain effects will hold. So when there is a relationship between the independent and dependent, then only the moderator comes. In the mediator, variables are mediator to the extent that they account for the relationship between the independent and the dependent relationship, because they are reason for their relationship. They account for, they are the mediator is the reason for the relationship. Mediator must be a causal result of the independent variable. That's what I said, that there is a independent, then there is a dependent. Okay, there is a relationship exists, then again the dependent, and it becomes the moderator. Becomes the mediator. Okay, it becomes the mediator. So that's what it is written. You see, there must be three variables whenever we talk about the mediation. There are three variables always. So at a moment of time, one variable works as an independent and the other variable works as a dependent, and this dependent is a mediating variable. Okay, and the other moment it works as an independent, and there is a third variable which is a dependent. So what happens, there is basically a direct relationship. So mediator has a direct relationship with the dependent variable. So that's how the relationship becomes, that there is a relationship. So whenever you test the relationship, you test this relationship, independent, dependent, and you test this relationship, independent, dependent. That's how you test direct relationship. So mediator has the direct relationship between the first independent and the last dependent. So it is the middle relationship. ठीक है जी. अच्छा, pause. Hypothesis development. Okay ji, when we talk about the hypothesis, it is basically this arrow we are about to discuss. This arrow, that how the variable relationship is possible. It is called the hypothesis. Hypothesis is a logical statement which represents the relationship between one variable and the other. It is a logical statement. Okay? Always remember, it is a logical. Logical means there must be a theory behind it. There must be a valid theory, valid logic behind it. So that's why what I already taught you before. In the quantitative study, when we go with the deductive reasoning, we start with the general to specific. General to specific. So hypothesis is going specific. Hypothesis is going specific. From the general, that is the theory. General is theory. From theory to hypothesis. This journey is called the deductive reasoning. This is called deductive reasoning is what? When we have a theory and we make hypothesis out of it. So hypothesis, when we talk about the independent and dependent variable relationship, we talk about the hypothesis. When there is, so every research has hypothesis. There is no research which has no hypothesis. Every research has hypothesis. And why it is so? Because it represents the relationship between them. So what is the hypothesis? We will be discussing about the statement of hypothesis formats. There are different formats through which you represent the hypothesis. Formats in terms of writing this statement. And there are types of hypothesis: directional or non-directional. Directional or non-directional. So we will be talking about directional is when there is positive or negative. That is called directional. When there is no positive and negative, it is called non-directional. Simple as that. Okay. How do we define hypothesis? To test whether the relationship that have been theorized in fact hold true. So basically, why we make the hypothesis? Because we want to know that whether this relationship we have made exists or not. So we test the relationship. We test the concept of relationship with the hypothesis. By testing these relationships scientifically through appropriate statistical analysis to obtain reliable information on what kind of relationship exists among the variables operating in the problem. So basically statistically we test it. We test them. We test the relationship statistically. Okay? We don't say okay, because of theory we accept it. No. We say with the data we will accept or reject. What you studied in the hypothetical relative method, I guess you remember that because you all prepared for the quiz recently. In the hypothetical relative method, you remember define hypothesis and defining measure and data collection. And then data collection, data analysis. Data analysis is possible with the statistics. So that is what it is written. So one of the way workforce diversity, workforce diversity has a positive effect on organizational effectiveness. So tell me, is it a directional or non-directional hypothesis?
Directional.
And how have you figured out?
सर क्योंकि वर्कफोर्स की डाइवर्सिटी जो है डायरेक्टली ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल इफेक्टिवनेस से प्रभावित करती है.
No, how have you found out?
सर मुझे पीछे से आवाज आ रही है.
This is the wrong direction. He has got the wrong direction. Okay, you see there is a positive effect. When we say positive, negative, basically it is leading towards that, it is directional. There are different formats through which you can write that. बंद कर